Tennis, the indie pop duo of Elena Moore and Patrick Riley, announced an indefinite hiatus. Essentially, Tennis is no more. Game, set, match, to use the tennis analogy. And I was really bummed to read about this news, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt like it actually made sense. I was actually kind of thinking when they announced that they had this upcoming album, because they will issue one more album, Face Down in the Garden, and they're doing this last tour. But when they announced their new album, which will be their 7th album, I was thinking, where else can they take it? Like, they're gonna sound, unless they totally switch up their sound, like completely change up and switch out the different ingredients that make for the tennis recipe. Unless they do that, I feel like they pretty much hit everywhere they can hit as a duo, sonically and thematically. I mean, their music ranges, from relationships to vacations. I mean, they met while being students at the University of Colorado, Denver. And then a couple years later, they went on like this 8-month sailboating expedition along the Eastern Seaboard. And that first album, that Cape Dory debut album for Tennis, is about that sailing trip. And that's the album that drew me in. I still listen to Cape Dory, and they didn't stop evolving from there. Although if I had to pick like my 2 favorite Tennis albums, Cape Dory would be one of those 2. It just has a couple moments that are undeniable for me, like track 2, Longboat Pass. That's one of my favorite Tennis songs. And then track 4, Marathon, the one that starts off with Coconut Grove, track 4. That's just a very pleasant song. And pleasant is one of the ways to describe Tennis, just their audio aesthetic. It's very light and breezy. It is indie pop, but I feel like there was some evolution from Cape Dory and then the music that followed. So after Cape Dory, which was 2011, they dropped Young and Old in 2012, which was still capturing those essential sounds, like, that kind of playful surf guitar, those fun and lively keys, along with a pretty smooth but still riveting backbeat. Like, they still held some of those essentials on Young and Old. But their next album, Ritual and Repeat, is where I feel like they hit their apex. Like, to me, that was Tennis developing the perfect indie pop record. It was very different from Cape Dory. Cape Dory, again, it was a little bit more indie rock, surf pop, surf rock. By the time they get to Ritual and Repeat, the beats were a little bit more dancey, and it was a little bit more indie pop than rock. But song over song, like, that album barely has any skips. It doesn't miss. And Elena Moore, like, as a vocalist, like, she's got a very signature sound. Like, I don't know if she doesn't just blow you away vocally. She's not one of those singers. Like, if she went on American Idol in like the early days, I don't know if she makes it to Hollywood, but she's got a very pleasant sound, and she makes her vocal aesthetics work for her, and it works brilliantly on these songs, like especially when it's paired with the Tennis production of Patrick Riley and Elena Moore. Elena Moore, when you see them live, she's usually playing the keys. She'll get on guitar on some of the songs, and she does play guitar on the records. Patrick Riley, though, is pretty much their main guitarist and their bass guitarist. So they both play guitar. Patrick Riley plays bass, and Elena Moore sings and plays the keys as well. But throughout this whole Tennis career, they've been a married couple, so a lot of their songs are semi-autobiographical, I would say. Especially, again, Cape Dory is about that first sailing vacation together. So if I were to pick my 2 favorite Tennis albums, I would say Cape Dory, the debut, and then definitely Ritual and Repeat, that 3rd album, which came on the heels of a 5-song EP called Small Sound. But yeah, Ritual and Repeat, again, if I was to point anybody to Tennis and to say, give them a shot, to get the gist of what Tennis is about, those 2 albums, they won't steer you wrong. Cape Dory 2011 and Ritual and Repeat 2014. Not to say that there's not enjoyment to be had in their next 3 albums. Yours Conditionally, Swimmer, and Pollen. Those all have their fine moments. Like, trust me, like, they pretty much stayed consistent at kind of carving out new little lanes within their sound. Like, they never veered too far off from their sound. I would say that Swimmer, that's album 5, is a little bit more like album 3 in having more of the dancey beats. Cape Dory and Young and Old, the first and second album, they are pretty much alike in having a little bit more surf rock and surf pop blending. But given those two styles, they pretty much stay true to that in their next 3 albums after Ritual and Repeat. And again, they're about to drop their 7th album, their final album, Face Down in the Garden. But yeah, I've had a lot of good memories, and I'm gonna try to catch them live as they tour this one last time. So again, it was pretty sad when I first read about that this morning, but then again, the more I thought about it, and I often think about this with different bands who kind of keep on chugging along, but are always either slightly reduced. They never recapture being as interesting as they were when they first hit. Like, they could try different things and maybe retool something here, you know, try this out, experiment a little bit without totally reshaping your sound. But I feel like with a lot of artists in general, especially different bands, it's like, well, where else can they go with the sound? And I was starting to feel that about Tennis. I was like, yeah, great, they're releasing another album. I'm sure I'm gonna like some of the songs from it, but really, will they be able to like explore any uncharted territory that they haven't already touched on in their past 6 albums? I do feel like the time might be appropriate. And I just want to say thank you to the band Tennis. Like, they produced and gave me so much enjoyment from listening to their albums, especially again, those first and third albums, Cape Dory and Ritual and Repeat. But yeah, give Tennis a listen if you haven't. They don't have a massive sound. I feel like the Tennis experience has always been a pretty intimate one, and it's fitting. I mean, it's a married couple that's writing, producing, and making this music. But by and large, it's been a lo-fi indie pop with some surfy elements sound. It just sounds very outdoorsy. It sounds very bright. There's levity, even in the more somber sounding songs, which they do have a few of those kind of sprinkled in between, like where the production is a little bit more melancholy and the effects on Elena Moore's voice, there's a little bit more reverb, and the lyrics might not be as happy or as optimistic sounding as lyrics from some of their other songs. But by and large, it's a light and breezy vibe when it comes to Tennis. But again, give those first and third, especially first and third albums a listen, Cape Dory and Ritual and Repeat. I'm gonna look forward to this Face Down in the Garden album. But again, yeah, this is about it. This is the end of Tennis, at least for the time being. Indefinite hiatus, that's how I interpret it. And it's gonna be interesting to see if either of them continue with a music career. Like, does Elena Moore join another band? Does she create solo music? Is this any sort of a byproduct of their relationship? I don't have any evidence that points to that. I mean, in their statement, they basically said what I just mentioned in terms of, we have done everything and said everything that we wanted to say as a duo, as Tennis. So it is what it is. But yeah, thank you, Tennis the band. And let me know what your experience with Tennis is. If you are familiar with them, do you have a favorite album? Do you have a favorite couple of songs from any of those albums? Again, if you listen to Ritual and Repeat, especially listen to like the first 6 songs, each one of those sounds like a popular single that you have never heard before. Like, if you haven't heard it, you'll be like, how did I not run into this or get put up on this? It sounds so pleasant, and those songs are so well developed and are so good. I would urge you to give it a listen. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog, Tennis, thank you.